contest is scheduled for one fall. Making their way to the ring.
Live from the AfterBuzz TV studios, it's Making Their Way to the Ring with Lilian Garcia!
Yeah. Oh my God, we're back! We're back! Welcome to Making Their Way to the Ring. It is so exciting to be back. I am Lilian Garcia. And you can catch me at Lilian Garcia on Instagram and on Twitter. Also, Lilian Garcia official fan page on Facebook. And you can head over to liliangarcia.com and you can get all of the interviews that we've been doing thus far. Of course, here at AfterBuzz TV. So exciting to be back. Please welcome with me at the show. It is he was the former senior TMZ producer. Yeah, you've got like a long title here.
I do.
And then you've also editor-in-chief of ProWrestlingSheet.com. Please welcome Ryan Satin.
Welcome. Thank you. I'm so glad to be back. I missed being with you, Lilian.
Yes, me too.
I gotta say, it's been weird not seeing you for a month. Like, we had so much to
It's a
talk
month.
about.
Dude,
it's
been
crazy.
a month. You know, at first I didn't realize that it had been a month because I was backstage, recording the interviews with Becky Lynch and also Naomi, and then we aired them while I was gone to Spain.
Yep.
So then all of a sudden, then I come back from Spain, and then I'm heading to WrestleMania, and it's like, okay, we cannot do a show. Like, there's too much going on, right?
I mean, we totally had to scrap those WrestleMania shows we had talked about.
Yeah, exactly, because it was kind of like, Spain straight to Mania. So it's like, okay, we're coming back. And by the way, Happy New Year.
What New Year?
That's what we say in WWE, in the wrestling world.
Oh, because now that WrestleMania is
after
over.
Mania is over, we all say Happy New Year.
I was like,
I know.
I was like, she was gone for a lot longer than a month if it was New Year's already.
I've got my little bling bling on, New Year's celebration. It is. It's the whole new year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like the new season of a show started.
New season of a show.
We've had all these call-ups. We've had all these, and before we move on too fast, I did want to say the interviews you referred to with Sasha Banks and Naomi and Becky Lynch.
And Becky Lynch, yes.
People loved them. I saw so much talk on Twitter of people said the Sasha Banks one was like can't miss interview. Same for all the other ones. So I'm glad everyone really liked those.
It is crazy to me how much they're revealing in this, and it's also very touching to me that they feel comfortable enough with me to share the stories that they're sharing. And in turn, what's happening is that the fans are totally identifying with them more, right? Identifying the struggles and going, oh my gosh, I'm going through this.
Yep.
It's crazy you're going through this, or you went through this, or, finding out that Sasha Banks, for example, when she got signed, finally, her dream of getting to NXT, and at that time, her brother, who was dealing with autism, all of a sudden he is going into a institution, mental ward or something like that, right? For what was going on. I'm trying to get all these stories straight. Yes, mental health facility. At the same time. So she's like, I was supposed to be the happiest ever, and all of a sudden I'm feeling so horrible for my brother, and so I'm being shred to tears and to all of that. And so she reveals that and so much more.
And the part when she talked about her husband now and openly
her
talking about it for the first time,
husband.
it's interesting because when you see celebrity couples, a lot of times you forget how much hate can be spewed at them on social media, and so it was interesting to hear the perspective of someone who is in the limelight, who was nervous to talk about her relationship just because she knows how hateful people on the internet can be, and I found that whole segment of the interview very, very interesting.
I've talked to her since then when I saw her at Mania, and she just came up to me. She's like, I want to thank you so much, because now when I have interviews, I can say, my husband.
That's awesome.
She goes, it feels so good. And
That's
I was
great.
like, did you notice you didn't get one hater? Like, it was amazing. Everybody embraced, right? They embraced it.
It's great.
And he's awesome. He was so thankful. He was giddy when he saw me backstage. He's hugging me, saying thank you so much. And yeah, it was good.
Well, before we get to WrestleMania, though, how was Spain?
All right, so Spain was spectacular. We actually took some of my dad's ashes, and we were able to put them where I grew up.
That's awesome.
So that was very, special, it was emotional, all that. I experienced it. But my God, going to where I grew up in Madrid, then Toledo, Sevilla, Granada, it's incredible. If you guys haven't gone to Spain, you need to go to Spain.
No, I went once, and it was a short trip, not as long as yours at all.
Yeah.
And I was so jealous looking at all the pictures and videos you were posting. You look like you were having so much fun. Like there were so many cool videos you were posting.
With my sister, and then with my mom, and then my cousin, came along. So it was very, very special. It was hard to come back. Not that I don't have. I mean, I love the U.S. But oh my God, when you can have sangria and siesta every day, and
yeah, when you said like I'm actually gonna stay a little bit longer, I was like, yeah, I completely understand.
Kind of can't come back yet. No, but it was nice to come home as well.
And how was WrestleCon? And that was your first time doing WrestleCon, right?
WrestleCon was so much fun. So Tori Wilson and I were together the entire weekend, and Eve Torres actually, she and I were together on Friday, and then of course Victoria, Lisa Marie was there, and then Candice Michelle. I mean, I saw everybody, Jack Swagger, I mean, Damian Sandow, let's see, there were so many people I can't even mention. Chavo Guerrero was there.
It's overwhelming when you go to WrestleCon.
Bubba Dudley, we got pictures together, Rikishi. I mean, seriously, it is so overwhelming, but so much fun. I had such a great time between WrestleCon and Access getting to reunite with the fans.
I bet.
That was so special to me. Like, I haven't done it since I left in June. So it was nice, I was just like, hi, nice to see you. Oh my God, come on over here. Let's have a picture. Like, I was just might have been overly too nice. Everybody's like, oh my God, you're so nice. I'm like, I'm so happy to see you. It was great connection.
That's awesome. No, that's my favorite part about WrestleCon is like, I remember when I went a few years ago, it's like I thought I was going to go for one day, and you end up having to go for 2 or 3 because it's like there's so many people there. It's like hard to like catch up with everybody.
Yeah, so like I said, with WrestleCon, and then Access too.
And Access too.
So much fun, and Howard Finkel and I signed together.
Oh, that's awesome.
So cool.
Did you get to walk around Access and kind of look at all the different stuff they have there? No?
No, because you get escorted into your seats and you get escorted out, and if you walk around, it's a little too crazy. Like we can't walk around.
Because they had some cool stuff up this year. I mean, just from what I saw online, they had the thing I thought was most cool is I enjoy wrestling history to some degree, and I've seen Ric Flair's robes. Obviously, you've always seen the cool. They have a ton of Ric Flair robes up. But the thing I thought was cool was they had a bunch of Gorgeous George robes up.
Oh, cool!
Which, like, since it was in black and white, you don't really see what that looked like, And it was like real silky robes, not like Ric Flair where they're all sequined. It was very silky and like a woman's robe kind of thing. It was real interesting. They also had a cool promo room where there was a green screen and you get to like cut a promo as if you're doing the interviews for Raw and SmackDown, which I thought you would like.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was great. And then, of course, WrestleMania was awesome, and we're going to be talking about that. But we have a huge, huge show today.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, over the weekend of Mania, I actually got to do a few interviews. And one of them that I got to do, very, very special woman. She and I worked together for a very long time, and everybody knows her as Lita. I know her as well as Amy Dumas, which is her real name. And, she had an incredible career, as we know.
Understatement,
right? Incredible career. But of course, there was also something that in real life that happened that actually spewed over into her career, and that was her relationship with Matt and then her relationship with Edge. She has never publicly spoken about it, like everything that happened, everything that went down. When we started talking, it was one of those things that she felt the need to just talk about it for the first time and just really take us back to what was going on during that time. And like I said, with the show is we get to really dive in also as to things that lead up. When she talks about what the impact her father has had on her career, it's like you kind of get a whole picture of that and spewing into her relationships. And then, us humans love to judge. Do we ever?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
Well, could you imagine if social media had, like, really been around back then?
Oh, God. I mean, it was already bad enough, some of the things that were being yelled at her and everything like that. But I'm hoping that when people hear this interview, they can actually understand what happened, also understand how it impacted her and how they actually had a huge lesson from this and learned a lot. And now she's able to tell people, what the choices we make, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this is probably out of all the interviews you've done, especially since I've been here, the one I'm most intrigued by and interested in listening to, because I mean, Lita is my favorite female wrestler of all time. I hands down my favorite female wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
And the Hardy Boys, especially because of their relationship to her at the time, I was the biggest Hardy Boys fan. So I've always followed that whole thing very closely because it's one I was like biggest fandom at 13 or whatever. So so that whole thing of blurring the reality with fiction and everything, that was one of the most mind-blowing things ever in wrestling to me. Like, it's still something that when you if you tell someone who's never watched wrestling about this happening, it's like, wow, that's a real thing they brought onto TV and they made a whole storyline out of.
And she talks about that, and she talks about why they said okay to making this a storyline. And it was something so different than what I thought. I mean, I had no idea. You know, I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is happening right now, right? But like I said, a lot is being revealed here. I just really hope that all of you guys, please, have an open heart, non-judgmental, open heart to what's happening here. The fact that she had the courage to speak about this for the very, very first time. And also realize that if you have never done anything, you might. So just no matter what in your life, don't judge.
Yeah.
Don't judge. You don't know if you'll ever be in that situation. And it's easy to point a finger. But
it's also easy to judge, and you know, and this is one situation where, you know, I mean, this is someone who is openly talking about something that has affected her for 20 years, probably, you know, 15 years, something like that. So I mean, the fact that she was comfortable enough with you to be able to talk about that really says something for this interview. I mean, it says something for what you're doing as well, and I really hope that people have the same respect too. That they're not going to judge her. Especially, I mean, this happened a long time ago.
We all learn, man.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
They were young.
It is a journey. It's a journey as human beings that we take, and we do make mistakes, and we learn from them, and then she's able to pass on from what she went through as well. I also know that we do talk about the fact that, you know, she had a wall up for many, many years. I didn't really get to know her that well. Even though I worked with her that much, I didn't really get to know her until now. And I remember at the very end of the interview, like literally tears streaming down my face as we go off air. And I just said, it's such a privilege to finally get to know you as a human being, and that she shared something so vulnerable, right? And I love her even more for it.
Yeah.
Like, wow. So it is mind-blowing. So we are going to be going into that. But first, you have a new title now. Oh God, does this mean now I have to add another title?
No, don't worry. You don't have to add another title. The other ones will be fine. I'll get it handled once I go over to the newsroom.
Senior news producer. All right. There is a reason he is now senior news producer. So what I want you to do is I want you to head over to our wrestling news room. And right after this, we're going to be bringing you the latest wrestling news.
What's up, party people? Roxy Stryer here from The Tomorrow Show with Kevin Undergaro. We're your twice-weekly broadcast of one man's midlife crisis and the mad millennials in Star Trek uniforms that follow him.
And I'm one of those millennials, Lauren LaGrasso here. We've had some amazing guests like Russell Simmons, Ileana Douglas, and Craig Gass. Coolio, right?
Christian Blatt in the house to tell you to go to thetomorrowshow.com to check us out. We're live every Monday and Thursday from 10 to midnight Eastern. That's thetomorrowshow.com. Be there or be square, whatever that means.
Welcome back. It's now time for your Making Their Way to the Ring wrestling news. And you might have noticed I'm not Christy Olsen.
No, you're not.
And I won't be wearing a dress in the future to make up for it. But and that is because Christy Olsen is our first news story of the week. Christy signed a deal with WWE. And she's already reported for duty at NXT in Florida. And she is now going by the name Christy St. Cloud. Now, my sources tell me that this all started at Raw in Los Angeles. Now, my little birdie might be sitting back in the AfterBuzz TV room. Lilian, do you want to fill us in on what might have happened here? Because you guys were a little secretive while everything was happening.
Maybe I know a little something about this. So, let's just say I had Christy actually assist me and come backstage with me. We went to Raw, we went to SmackDown as we were doing the tapings for Sasha Banks and for Becky Lynch and Naomi. And I kind of told somebody there that was kind of high up, hey, guys, if you're ever looking for somebody who can actually work for your announce team, this girl is ready. She has been doing some great work for my show, and I think she would be awesome here. And that certain person was like, let me see. Does she have something online? As a matter of fact, we went to her website and she's got a reel there, everything. And so everybody was checking everything out. Next thing you knew, she got set up. He brought her in, they spoke. Then she got set up for testing. And from there, she ended up getting hired.
Was this all backstage at the show this happened?
This was all kind of backstage and then being brought back. And then she got sent over to NXT for the official audition. And all I want to say is, look, I know that maybe some people were like, oh my God, she's so lucky. No. I've always said luck is when opportunity meets preparation. She was prepared. And I saw that preparation. She has worked her butt off. She really has. She's been doing so many shows for free and putting in so much time and effort. And she had everything ready. So when the opportunity presented itself, there it was. And people could see in black and white everything she's done. She's put her reel together. She had everything accessible. She was ready for the interview right away. She looked the part backstage, and there you go. And now she's
I remember
hired.
when we did when we were talking about our New Year's resolutions shortly after I joined the show.
Yes.
She kind of mentioned vaguely that she had gotten overlooked for an opportunity, and so I personally was happy to see that she got that opportunity again, and that this time she nailed it, and that she's there. She's already posting videos, pictures from there. She's clearly stoked about the opportunity.
Did you remember the very, 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 very first show that we did in the new year? I think it's the same show that you're talking about. We were talking about what did we learn in 2016, and I specifically remember her saying, you know what, I gotta stop looking at what somebody else is doing and being upset that they're further along than I am.
That's exactly what I was referring to.
Right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, when she started doing that, when she started focusing on just her, boom, the doors are open. So it's just it's awesome. I'm so happy for her.
So right now she's just doing hosting at NXT shows,
She is
right?
hosting NXT. She had her very first weekend of travel. So she moved. She moved from LA. She was willing to move all the way down to Orlando. She literally moved like 2 weekends after she had her interview, and her husband has moved with her.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's unbelievable. And like I said, it's a whole new journey, and we wish you the best.
Well,
I know she's going to do great.
I hope she's watching this. She better still be watching.
Yeah, she better.
Well, moving on here. Broken Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy have returned to WWE, and even though he's not so much broken anymore, it seems like he's still going to have the character a little bit. But what I love is that WWE is allowing the brothers to fulfill some of their previously booked dates that they had before. Now, I know WWE does this a lot, but it's pretty cool that the WWE Tag Team Champions are going to be working on a couple local indie shows. They did one over the weekend for IWC Wrestling. And just to see the WWE Tag Championships in a small gym at a local show, to me, I think it's super cool. I thought, and just the fact that they're back is awesome. I'm sure you must have loved it.
I was incredible. First of all, my perspective from WrestleMania was so different this year. I actually got to be in the suite, in the box, and actually just got to watch WrestleMania, which was incredible. I mean, with the crowd all around, and I posted some pictures and all, and I was just... I was going to start like tweeting throughout, and I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to sit back and just soak this in and enjoy it. When the Hardy Boys came through, OMG. I mean, that literally was an OMG moment. And maybe that will be the Slammy Awards. Remember the OMG?
Yep.
Yeah. Incredible. I love those guys. I saw them backstage. Huge hug to Jeff. I didn't get to see Matt backstage the next day, but... I did see Jeff, and it was just so awesome to reunite with him. And
I'm jealous that you got to be in the crowd for that pop, because when their music hit, I know I had been reporting on my site for a few weeks, not to toot my own horn here, but I've been reporting that they've been in talks.
You did.
And that they had a new contract offer on the way. But still, even though people were expecting them to show up, that pop was just massive. And
then they won.
And I honestly think it was, in my opinion, and maybe yours is different from being there live, but I thought it was the biggest moment of the show. I mean, obviously Taker retiring was also a big moment, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But to me, the comeback of the Hardy Boys, and because people know of the reason, they kind of left for personal struggles and had different things, different demons they had to fight along the way.
Yeah, they've grown up a lot.
Yeah, exactly. When they were on Raw Talk, they mentioned how they're maybe not so much Hardy Boys anymore. They're Hardy Men. And because they are like 40 and stuff like that. So, but I feel like was the general vibe backstage that
it's great,
that they were happy to have them home.
Absolutely, everybody, especially everybody who's worked with them before. Because remember though, the locker room has changed a lot. Mm-hmm. And I remember even Kurt Angle, when I saw him backstage, he was just like looking around, going, "Oh my God, this is a different company."
What would you say the main difference is between their WWE and now?
A lot of the people are completely different, yeah, and there's just a difference. I mean, this is a machine now, right? I mean, you got the NXT thing. It's a public company also now. So there's just been a lot of things that have changed from back in the day.
No, that definitely makes sense. And
the wellness program. That's the other thing. Too.
I was gonna say, I'm sure it's probably more professional feeling backstage, like more of a TV show.
Well, it's more like a company, it's a business.
Yeah,
it's more of a business.
That definitely makes sense. And we're not gonna talk about Kurt Angle, but did you talk with Kurt Angle a bit backstage at the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, and I posted a picture with him and everything too. I mean, when we saw each other, literally, because I had him on my show, but it was through Skype.
Yeah.
So I was like, Kurt, I wish I could hug you. So when we saw each other in the hotel, it was a 10-year waiting hug. Like literally, we hadn't seen each other in 10 years. So it was awesome. We just couldn't let go of each other. We've always been really close. And it was spectacular. I felt sad backstage when I saw Kurt, there's Goldberg, and Jeff, and I was like, man, guys, I wish I was working here again. This is,
It is like a weird time trip that we've gone into because we've got, we got Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton as champions, the Hardy Boys as tag champions.
Right.
Kurt Angle is the GM again.
Yes.
It definitely feels like we've gone back in time a little bit.
I know.
But it is cool because, like you said, a lot of these people have grown up a little bit, and obviously Kurt Angle was an adult when he left, but he also had his own personal struggles that he had to face, which he went in detail, which you guys can hear on this show.
Angle Strong. Yep. Angle Strong is the app that he's got. He's helping people now.
Yep, and so I was saying you can hear about his struggle back then.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to have these guys back. Now the Hardy Boys are also going to be at an upcoming House of Hardcore show and an upcoming PWS wrestling show. So I mean, if you're in that area, it'd be dumb not to go. It'd be cool seeing the tag champions that close up. Now, Kane is expected to announce this week that he'll be running for mayor.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. Come Tuesday, Kane will be making an announcement regarding his prospective run for mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. And he's already filed paperwork to start the process, so that's why it's expected, because he said he's going to make an announcement, and that's why it's expected that he's going to say that he's going to be running for office. Now, you've known Kane for obviously longer than me. He's a pretty political guy, right?
Not only is he political, he's so smart. This guy is brains. I mean, he is so smart. I love having conversations with Kane. Sometimes it's way over my head, even though I have a college degree. I mean, this guy is so smart. I think he'd be awesome as mayor. I think he takes this stuff very, very serious. And I would love that. I can't say any more about it. Like, seriously, I think it's great. And I think it's time for him to have another, avenue, a next step, I should say.
Well, he's been pumping for so long. I mean, he's been going ever since
yes.
He's been wrestling since I started watching wrestling. I couldn't imagine the toll that takes on your body.
Absolutely. And he has been doing it for so long and so hard, and just, I think it's, like I said, I always love what's the next chapter, and this is perfect for him.
And
so good luck to you.
And he's been putting in the time to make it happen. Like, he's on all those Fox News and all those different
If you guys see him there, he's totally. I mean, he's just a brain. He's amazing. Expresses himself extremely well.
I'm kind of surprised they never let him run with that character on TV a little bit of being the smart guy. The Corporate Kane, he was still kind of Kane. But he was still kind of Kane for the most part.
Because everybody loves Kane.
That's true.
Why. I don't think you want to completely see him in that.
Well, since you're mentioning Kane in general, he also talked with Gulf News when he was doing a recent interview, and they asked him when we can expect him back in the ring. And he says that right now is to be determined, and doesn't. Basically, the way he made it sound like is he might not be wrestling again anytime soon, or he doesn't know when he's going to be coming back. And it makes sense, obviously, if he's running for office, that he would be doing that.
Absolutely. Like I said, I think it's time for him for the next chapter. I'm sure his body is saying, please. But wow, thank you for all the years that you have given us. And who knows, he might come back and do another match. You never know. In this business, never say never.
Especially if he runs for office and gets elected.
Yeah.
And gets some time off, lets his body get back in shape.
Yeah,
And who knows
you
what
never
he wants to
know.
do after that. And, you know, while we're talking about people who might not be wrestling again, I think we have to talk about The Undertaker.
Yeah.
The Undertaker. That was so first, before we get into this story, I want to know what your experience was like being there live for The Undertaker's. Because it seems, even though they haven't definitively said he's 100% retiring, it's definitely the way they've made it
It's
seem.
implied.
It's heavily
Yeah,
implied.
I mean, come on. Everything is laid down, the gloves, everything on the... I mean, that was... At first, I got to be honest with you, when I found out... So I didn't know, like I said, this year I just sat back. I didn't know the order of the matches, none of that.
You watched as a fan.
I watched as a fan. I'm looking at the clock. I thought that WrestleMania was only going to go to 11. Okay? So I'm looking at the clock, and now I think it was like around 9:30, 9:45 that Triple H is coming on. And that entrance took like 15 minutes. The match took another 30 minutes. So we're not over till like 10:15, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, they got like 4 more matches and Pitbull and Flo Rida to perform.
Yep.
How is this going to be all squeezed in? And then, of course, I think with the network now, they can go however long they want, which is pretty cool.
I do wonder how that works with pay-per-view, though, because they are still technically
no
on
idea.
pay-per-view. But
All I know is people got their money's worth. Absolutely.
Without a doubt. I was worried they were going to cut the SmackDown women's match.
Oh my God, me too. I was so worried. I'm like, no, not 2 times for Naomi. No. And what a moment she had, by the way. But anyway, so I just, when I saw that the Taker match was last, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Because I really thought it was going to be the Randy's match or it was going to be Brock's match.
Well, because normally it's a world title match. that ends the show.
Exactly. So then, when I saw what happened, I was like, there you go. WWE, brilliant. It was a brilliant way to end. Yeah, it leaves everybody like, but it was emotional and it was cool.
I liked the image, too, of Undertaker almost, he lays down the jacket and the hat.
Yeah.
And I felt like the part that I liked more, though, was when Undertaker is walking down the ramp and he went back down and almost looked like he was going back down to hell forever. Like he was like his time was done.
Yeah.
And the Undertaker was going back where he came from. And I thought it looks-wise was so cool.
Just incredible, an incredible run that he has had. Can't thank him enough for everything that he has done for this business. For everything that, I see him give so much of himself to all the matches and to everybody and helping them along and all.
And he did not waste time. Oh, that's my paper is the one that went flying. There it is. I was like, where'd that paper go? But what I love, though, is that Undertaker is so known for keeping kayfabe. Like he never gets out of character. He's always the Undertaker. Rarely you'll see him do a few things here and there. But over the weekend, or during the week, at the end of last week, George Strait is advertising his new album, Troubadour, and he's been posting different celebrity clips talking about the album, and one of them was an out of character Undertaker, and you guys got to take a look at it. It's so weird seeing him like this.
King George, I've been listening to him since the late 80s. If you look at his whole catalog of albums and songs, there's a song for anything that you may be going through in your life. Whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you found someone, whether you lost someone. There's a George song that covers it. And I think that's really cool, and people really can identify with him just due to the music, and when he sings, you believe it. For me, right now, where I'm at in my career and in my life, Troubadour. And it hits me. It hits me hard. I get chills every time I hear it. So George, I hope he keeps doing his thing for as long as he can. He keeps writing good music and singing good songs. He really has affected me, and long live the king.
Now, Lillian, I'm sure you've probably had many conversations with Undertaker where he's like
have.
this. But for someone like me and other wrestling fans who never get to see Undertaker like this, it was it was interesting, very quickly after retirement, he's already out of character doing interviews.
Well, and this actually, I think, gives him that opportunity to segue into showing you guys what a real person he is and what he goes through in his lives and all. And I like it because I've known Taker like this, exactly like this. And he's awesome. He's awesome to talk to. And My God, I almost got teary-eyed with that. Like, he's so emotional, right?
That's why I was, it was a trip to me, because he's this big, tough, scary man, and to see him talking about his emotions and how he's feeling about things, it was interesting. You mentioned in the Kane segment that you like to see people doing their next step after wrestling, and I'm interested if Undertaker will do more things like this, or if he's going to kind of become a more sheltered, hidden person like he's always been.
I don't know, but I actually would love to see more things like this. I think that he has a ground to like really make an impact in a different way than wrestling, tied in still with wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like he's gotta start like a motorcycle company or something.
Oh my God,
like
that would be brilliant.
That's if I was
brilliant.
Undertaker, that'd be the first thing I do, like Dead Man Motorcycle Company or something
or
like that.
do something with Harley Davidson, like do an right?
Be a spokesperson for Harley Davidson.
Hey, Taker, we got some ideas for you.
Hey Taker, hit me up. I got some PR ideas for you, dude.
Here we go.
All right, well that has been your Making Their Way to the Ring news. I'm Ryan Satin. You can find my website ProWrestlingSheet.com, and back to you, Lilian.
Our new senior news producer. I like it. Thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate it. And guys, here we are. It is time now to bring you this amazing interview. Like I said, it is real, raw, and inspiring. Open your hearts, open your mind. First time ever that Lita has spoken about her career, about her life growing up, about the situation that happened with Matt and with Edge. And I really wanted to give her a platform to feel to feel safe to do that. So I really hope that you guys will respond to her in a really amazing, positive way, that she is being so open with all of us and letting us in, and let her know on Twitter for sure. Here we go, and first we're going to take a look at the amazing career of Amy Dumas, aka Lita. Amy Christine Dumas was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, is a former WWE Women's Champion, and is a WWE Hall of Famer. Growing up, she developed a love of music, learning the bass guitar, and working as a roadie for several years. One fateful night, Amy saw Rey Mysterio Jr. perform on WCW's Monday Nitro, which inspired her to seek wrestling training in Mexico. After debuting with S.A. Rios in 2000 as Lita, she soon found her place as a member of Team Extreme with Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys. During Team Extreme's feud with Test, Albert, and Trish Stratus, Lita stood out and started feuding for the WWE Women's Championship with Stephanie McMahon. This would be the first of 4 title runs for Lita, including wins against Trish Stratus for the first ever women's main event on Raw, and 2 matches with Mickie James. Lita lost a retirement match at Survivor Series in 2006 and took some time to perform with her band, the Luchagors. In 2014, Lita was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by her friend and on-screen rival Trish Stratus. She returned to WWE television soon after as a trainer on Tough Enough, unveiling the new WWE Women's Championship title and being a host on various WWE pre-shows. Lita recently returned to the ring for the first time in 5 years and continues to be an inspiration for the next generation of female wrestlers around the world. It's about to get real, raw and inspiring with Amy Dumas, aka Lita. Ladies and gentlemen, you just saw it. Oh my gosh, what an amazing little snippet piece on Amy Dumas, as you all know her as Lita. She is WWE Hall of Famer. And we are here. We are actually here. It is WrestleMania Day, and she is hanging with me. We're in my room, and it's just been so awesome to just see you around everything, doing Mania stuff as we do, and welcome everybody to the show, Lita.
You're making it happen. They were asking. I kept seeing it in my timeline. They're like, you got, Lilian has a podcast and you need to be on it.
Yeah.
And can we just pause for the latest Hall of Fame inductee? The list of women is getting longer.
Isn't it great?
Man, if there could have been a perfect poetry of a speech Beth Phoenix delivered. It was so awesome.
Wasn't it great? I really, but I loved your speech as well. So I'm not...
Basically, like, my speech was my version of hers. Like, I'm just gonna kind of like, this is the side of me that you haven't seen, and I'm just gonna talk about things that are important to me. And I'm so glad that you know, we all knew about the Molly Holly story. You know
what? I never knew that Molly actually paid for her tuition. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so that, for me, I've known Molly, you know, for a very long time, and Molly's the reason that I actually found God again.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it was very, because I was really, there was a time there that I was kind of lost and going to therapy and all of this stuff, and Molly was like, you know, therapy's great and all, but just don't forget there's God to lean on. And for me, that meant a lot because I was connected to God growing up, and then I just kind of lost my way, and so I know what a special person she is and just what a giving and loving thing. So I was so happy that she got such an amazing shout out by Beth.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the way to do it. I love that it had been private. You know, she could have used that as a something to be like, hey, I did this thing.
Right.
And she's like, but that's not why I did it. So
no. So, but speaking, and I do want to say about the Hall of Fame. When I saw you, when you came out, you were glowing. You were so happy, but also you were so confident and just so
relaxed.
It was awesome, and that's something that I want to touch on. Like, I want to know obviously your backstory too, but I do want to say that there were times in WWE that getting to know you that were a little hard to get to know you. And now, as I've gotten to hang out more with you over the years, and as you're getting older, it's amazing how much more you're opening up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the thing too, is Hall of Fame was it was a pivotal time for me in my relationship with this business. Because I remember I was in Nicaragua, so off grid, was not thinking about wrestling or what anybody was doing or that life, and Steph had called and you know, had said that they wanted to put me on the Hall of Fame, and I was like, oh, cool, but I was kind of like, cool, I gotta go check the surf report, like, you know what I mean, like, I kind of didn't really digest it because I was just like in a totally different world,
right? And
then in stages, it kind of, as the moment was getting closer, as I had to think about, like, oh, geez, we'll have to write a speech, and, you know, and as fans were saying they were excited for me, I remember she told me, okay, we're going to announce it this night, and so I pulled up a pirate feed in Nicaragua and to watch it on the laptop when they announced it, and I was like, are they going to even know who I am? You know, is the crowd going to react? Because I was so far removed from that section of my life. I was like, I mean, the fans now, you know what I mean? They could also be so...
Yeah,
you know? And then I was like, kind of like had this preemptive embarrassed feeling where I was like, oh, I hope they don't regret saying this because nobody, like, what if nobody cares? And then, I mean, the place kind of erupted, and I was like a sigh of relief and then excited.
Yeah.
Like, first I was like, okay, cool. So at least some people in there remember who I am, and then the other part was like, well, I think this is going to be kind of fun and cool. And
I think that's the thing that I don't, I'm seeing more and more from you guys. And when I say you guys, as you superstars, is that you think that people aren't going to necessarily remember. And Mick Foley, when I had him on my podcast, he kind of said the same thing. One day we were backstage and he was coming to surprise everybody, right? And I was like, are you excited? He goes, I'm a little scared. I feel like when my music hits, I wonder if there's just going to be cricket.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? You're Mick Foley? Like, are you kidding me? And that's the same thing that I'm. And
you say
let's
that.
just say the place erupted.
And I feel the same way about you saying that with Mick. I'm like, come on, Mick.
Right.
But I remember seeing a playback. I did Raw 1000 and. Thank you, Heath Slater. I beat up poor Heath Slater just like everybody else on the roster.
Yeah.
But there was a video of my music hit and this person just losing their mind and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. I was like, at least there's one person that was really excited.
Oh, girl, you made such an impact in this business. You absolutely did. And I saw it night after night after night. And I know that a lot of times we're caught up in it, you know. We're caught up
you said so much with that right there. You're caught up in it, you know, and whatever that means, whether your brain or your ego or whatever it is caught up in it. So I know a huge thing for me was that you don't get a chance to process how cool all of these, moments are that we get to have that the people watching us or my next door neighbor don't get to have.
Right.
Because for several reasons. First of all, I mean, I was there at a time, Sunny had just came and gone, Sable had come and gone. They were having, on the radar and having problems with China as far as, getting a little out of the machine's control, right? So as I came onto the scene and they were giving me these opportunities, each opportunity was presented with, hey, we're going to do this thing. But you think that you're cool because you get to do this. I don't want to hear this, and you better not do this, and that, and I was kind of like, okay, because I think it was like, oh, don't, like people using it as a stepping stone or wanting to go to Hollywood or wanting to go to get bigger and better, and I'm like, no, like I already, like this is
what I want to
do. But so in some ways it made it hard to enjoy because people would be like, wow, that was such a great match. I'm like, well, the way the writers set it up, it just worked perfectly. Or, my opponent, and all these things are true, but like, yeah, it was cool. It was a good match. Like, I felt like I could never.
That explains so much, because I remember I would say that to you, like you'd have a great match and I'd see you right afterwards, and I would say that to you, Amy, oh my God, that was amazing. And you're like, thanks.
Right, and it wasn't like, screw you, Lilian. It
no,
was
it
like,
wasn't that, but thanks.
But I could see, like, as I'm watching you do it to me, I'm like, that's kind of rude. But I wasn't meaning it that way. It was just like, yep, stay the course. But it was like, because I want to keep doing these amazing moments and having these things, I have to just stay chill and cool and not, like, be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So getting inducted to the Hall of Fame and thinking of that, and I was asking fans, and I also hadn't interacted with fans a lot, and so reaching out and saying, what was your favorite moments? Like, tell me about my career, because I haven't actually thought about it in a bit. And then, people were tweeting me and putting on Facebook like these moments, and I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of cool. Or like, what? I don't even remember that. And I'd be like, YouTube / Randy Orton and Edge this, and I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of fun. And so, first of all, I got to, like, that was fun. I got to be sitting in the privacy of my own home where nobody was going to be thinking I thought I was too cool or whatever. I was like, man, that was so cool. Oh man, that was awesome. And getting to enjoy it, because I've also had a thing where I've never watched my stuff back. I hate it. I've never watched it.
Do you over criticize?
Well, I would when I went out there, just as Lita, young kid, very undertrained, just kind of going for it, winging it, flying by the seat of my pants. Go figure. That's how I've lived my entire life.
Yeah.
But to if I tried something new, I would try to watch back just that one thing to go, did it look like it? I thought it did in my head. But if I felt so uninhibited out there in general that I was like, I will lose that if I watch myself back, because then I'll be like, ooh, when you do that thing with your tongue, it looks stupid. When your left hand turns that awkward way, it will, don't do that. So
it's
then
amazing
I would, like,
what you will point out
turn
to yourself.
into this weird robot.
Right.
And I remember, this is jumping ahead, but
it's okay.
I was sitting at home, and it was very hard for me. I broke my neck, and I was sitting at home, and so it's like I wanted to stay in touch. Of course, I missed the business. I wanted to see what people were doing while I was out, but it was hurtful, to know that I couldn't be doing that. I was hoping I was going to get to do it, but not knowing.
Yeah.
And there was a woman, she had a brief time in WWE, but at the time she was at TNA Trinity, and she was
I remember Trinity,
a stunt woman.
Yeah.
But she was clearly a Lita fan, because all of the wrong things I did, I was like, oh, don't do that, sweetie. Yes, you must have watched that match, but it was like, but it was hard to watch, and it was funny because I was like, oh, I do that. That's you shouldn't do that. And so it was like I wasn't studying my tapes, but I was starting to see people mimic me. That I was like, so yeah, I never liked watching my stuff back, but so far removed, going into Hall of Fame, was like, it doesn't matter how dumb you looked, because it's happened and it's there, and people have either forgotten about it or it doesn't matter. It's just kind of part of the journey at this point. so I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. That
Yeah.
looked good, or that
Yeah.
was fun. And so leading up to that, and then coming out into to give my speech at the Hall of Fame, I wrote it weeks before. And just kind of bullet points and stuff. And then Trish told me, she was like, oh, they have a teleprompter. You can just throw it all in there. And I was...
Did they really?
No.
You thought they did? That's what she said?
No, well, they did on some years, and I guess they did on hers.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay,
she's like,
and then
you can
surprise,
you can either throw bullet points in there, or you
Yeah.
can throw whatever. I don't know. I've never used a teleprompter
Yeah.
to this day. But so that day I get to Hall of Fame, and they're first up. And they're like, and I was like, oh, I need to give my speech to the teleprompter person. You know,
Yeah.
you know, and they're like, what?
What?
And I was like, yeah, what? And then, so at that point, I was like, I have two options, because, you know, we had maybe a couple hours till I had to go out.
Right.
I was like, I can still, and I had enjoyed every moment of the whole week and everything up until then. I was like, I can either just like go in my dressing room and focus and just try to read this like 17 times before I go out there, or I was like, it's my story. Like, I know what I did.
Yes.
So, yeah, I took my thank you list, because I was like, I want to try not to
Right.
forget thank you people.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was just like, I mean, and I always say that it's very well known. I'm a huge Paul Rubin, Pee Wee Herman fan.
Yes.
And
I remember you got to meet him.
yeah.
Oh my God.
But he has a line. He's like, she's like, don't you want to stay and watch the movie? And he was like, I lived it. And so I
That's
always,
great. Yeah.
I mean, that's my, like, we're taking pictures, like, I don't take a lot. And I'm like, no, I lived it. You
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah,
so with
that's
my
true.
speech, it's like, I don't need a speech. I lived it. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go out there.
And you did it wonderfully. I mean,
So,
it was so.
it was
yeah.
kind of like my match is like a little loose, but like unique,
okay.
and just kind of go out there and like say what you feel.
Yeah, I think for you it probably felt loose. For all of us, it just felt very genuine.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually sometimes I like that even more than somebody just reading it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's exactly why even from day one I found out that, you know, us announcers weren't allowed to use cue cards or notes or anything, because they don't want us to sound like we're reading, because it does sound different.
Yeah.
So the fact that you did it that way just sounded more genuine, more cool. So I want to know something, because like I was saying, we've worked together. My God, you came in '99, right? The end of '99, yeah, 2000. I
was hired in, I think, like October of '99.
right, and then you came in 2000.
Yeah.
And I came in August of '99, which is crazy.
I remember. I remember, like, watching Raw, and then all of a sudden hearing a woman voice,
And then,
I was like,
what?
Oh, that's cool, because at that point there just wasn't that many women, so I was like, cool, there's one more woman. I'm in the kitchen and I hear it, and I was like, oh, there's a
new
woman.
chick. Oh
I'm
my
saying,
God,
yeah.
replacing Howard Finkel. Oh my God.
No
With no
pressure,
training.
no pressure.
With
yeah.
no training.
No training, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Just like,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Oh God. Anyway, something went right? But I mean, you were born in Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yeah.
So we're right around the corner from that. How long did you grow up there before you?
Oh, I was a baby. My dad he was in like a commercial wall covering industry, like they'd wall cover like hotels and big places
okay.
like that. So he was like a regional when I was born, like in the regional. So we moved a ton, but it was just within Florida. So, but it's just enough still where it doesn't matter if you're moving from Florida or all the way across the country, it still knew everything.
Right.
So I was born in Fort Lauderdale, and then we moved to Jacksonville, and then I lived in Deerfield Beach, and then we were somewhere else before that, and then before I moved to Atlanta. But so by the time I got to Atlanta, I was in I went to high school and college there, and so that was the first place that kind of felt like home, because I have flashes of memories and times living in Florida. Winter Park, we lived there too, so that's just up the street from here in Orlando. But I don't have a ton of memories being in Florida. However, I'm a tangenter. Another tangent. When I did Tough Enough just this past year, it was the first time I'd been in the PC and was down there. So they put me up at just like a little auxiliary housing, because I was going to be there for the whole shooting. And I picked a place in Winter Park, and I was like, oh, I live there. Like I'll stay there. And the woman had a kayak, and so I would go out in the little lake behind her place, and I docked up just to this place, and it had a plaque. And it said Dinky Dock, and I was like, Dinky Dock? I was like, I learned how to swim at Dinky Dock, and I didn't know it was an actual place. I thought we're just kids. My mom's like, you want to go to Dinky Dock? I'm like, it's some small dock, but it's a real place.
It really is.
And it was across the lake of where I stayed, and I really love full circle moments, because you don't often, the whole once in a lifetime, hindsight's 2020, like all these things, you don't get a chance to do it twice, because it's like, well, you screwed that up, learn and carry on,
Right.
But if you get to revisit it and then take that information that you learn and do it, and so not that I didn't drown, not that I screwed up swimming, but but just to like have these things where you get to revisit these moments with a different perspective. It is my favorite like thing with age, is to be like, oh, I get to do it with like the wisdom that attached onto these years, and have a different perspective on it.
And isn't it nice to like have this wisdom that keeps coming with age?
God, I would not, I would not trade youth for the wisdom that comes with age.
Me neither.
It is, and it's so funny to like look back and each thing, like, oh, you think you knew then, you think you had perspective then.
Yeah.
You just keep gaining it and gaining
Right.
it and gaining it, and it's
Alicia Fox and I were talking about that this morning, because she was just saying, I think she said she's about to turn 31, or she is turned 31.
she's
and
still just a baby.
I know, right? Now, it's right. But, for her, although she's excited about the age, she goes, I wouldn't do anything to be in my 20s anymore. And I said, you wait till you, like, this is going to be an awesome time, and you wait till you hit your 40s, you wait till you, like, it just gets better and better if you welcome it.
If you, totally,
Right?
if you accept it. I mean, I know people that don't feel that way, but God, I mean, when I think about how tumultuous my 20s were, just because you're still figuring it out,
God.
and you don't have the
Absolutely.
knowledge to, like, have the perspective. There's some old souls that you run across, but for the most part, it's pretty overwhelming, and you don't realize it at the time how overwhelming it is to just get through it.
No, just to get through it, but now you look back, and there's a calming that comes because you start getting more into knowing who you are and what you really want out of life, and what you're kind of
And
doing here,
acceptance
and
of your life. And I mean, I think too, you touched on it as far as like coming out to go do my speech at Hall of Fame, and I was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna wing it, because I want to, for this little time I have before I go on stage, everyone's now getting to the building, I want to just say hey, and I want to hang out with them. I don't want to read my speech 17 times. I want to chill out. And I hadn't been in front of people in a long time, so in theory I should have been extra nervous, but I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go do the thing. Because it's like,
But had you gotten it in your 20s, you'd been like reading that thing 17 times.
Practicing, and
Oh my God, everything's gotta be perfect. Everything's gotta be. Oh my God, what are they gonna
it's
say?
like pressure's on. It's like the
it's
pressure's
anxiety.
It's just what you're putting on yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. So when you were, like we were saying, you were growing up, how many different places did you, schools?
Yeah, I mean,
Did
enough
you lose
where
count?
Yeah, I lost. I mean, I wasn't, as I say here, like, military families growing up, moving
but I
as
was
much,
lucky
but-
because I actually, when my dad got stationed in Fort Jackson, I mean not Fort Jackson, in Madrid, Spain, I was there for a good solid 8 years.
Okay.
So I didn't have to move around like that. So I don't know what it's like to bounce from. I know what it's like to go from Spain to an American school, and that was tough enough. But how was that for you, bouncing around?
I think, and it's weird because you don't know, or I mean, how much of who you are is nurture or nature. It's like, was that instilling the values early on? Because I am a freaking pirate. Like, to this day, I just roll with it, adapt to change easily. I feel more comfortable when there's change happening.
Because it's what you know.
Because that's what I know. But would I have been like that if I was raised in one place with two solid parents and da-da-da? You know what I mean? Like, would I still have just had that free spirit in me? Or did that create, the person that I became?
But when you went to college, there's a quote of you saying that you dropped out because it was too much like high school. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I feel like, so, everything going to school, like, was going to be on your permanent record, and you're basically, it's all training for college, and that's what's instilled in you, is you got to get these grades so that you can get into a good college. So I graduated early in winter, so like December, January, I graduated as opposed to June, you know, when my class would have graduated, and then enrolled right into college because I'm like, just getting ahead, you know, like fast tracking, and that it just felt the same thing, you know. In my classes, I had stacked on top of each other's, and so it was just like on to the next, into the next, and it was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do because this person in front of me is telling me. And I was like, I just didn't feel like, you know, it was like you graduate high school so you can have freedom. And I was like, I don't feel like there's freedom.
Yeah.
It's just like the same thing, but I have an apartment downtown, but I'm doing the same thing. And so I just felt like, I was like, I want to go learn on the street. You know, just like life, I want life to teach me right now. That's what I feel that I need.
Did you have, when you were going to school, was it easy for you? Like, did you make friends easy and all that?
Yeah, I've always been more of a, like, I bond one-on-one or, like, with a group of a couple people. I've never liked, like, parties or groups where I'll fall to the back because I don't like to compete for attention or, like, command a room and like, here, wait, I got another one for you guys. So but I do love bonding on like an intimate level, one-on-one, just like talking with somebody. So I was always like, I had my own interests, which provided its own set of friends by default with those common interests. But I was a floater, you know. I would be friends with all different types of groups, and it's, to this day, it's just, I run into people from high school and they talk to me and, you know, they've potentially seen me on TV or heard about my life, but then when they talk to me, they're like, oh my God, you're like the same as you were in high school. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but because I would like to think I've grown a lot since then, but I've always had a small group of friends that I know I can say anything at any time and they're never going to judge me, but at the same time, they're going to say, hey, I'm going to call bullshit on that. You know, like that, and I love and appreciate that so much, and I do the same for them, and and then just like a myriad of acquaintances that, yes, I care about them, but it's a separation. It's different.
What was your biggest obstacle then when you were going through school? I mean, some people have been bullied. You know, it just.
I just felt like confined, and so feeling that it just felt like, all right, I want to power through this, but it's like I want to get to the next thing, and so I just felt just kind of trapped.
So, and I think that might be tied in with the whole moving around, right? So, is it hard for you to stay put in one place now?
Yes, but I've now come to a place where I kind of romanticize about like wanting to stay in a place for a long time because I'm like, man, it would be so cool if there was, I mean, I could never imagine if somebody was like, okay, you can have that, but you can never travel again. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're like, all right, pass.
Yeah. It's called balance, though, you know?
Yeah.
It's called balance because if you're traveling all the time, too, as we know, in this, we're traveling so much, it becomes to a point where you're like, oh my God, I got to get off a plane. Yeah. Like, my feet need to stay on the ground for a while, you know? So, yeah. So, all right. If that was, I mean, so you never, like you said, you had small groups and that kind of stuff, but did you feel, is there a reason, let me ask you this, like with your parents, for example, they were together for how long?
They were together for like 19 or 17 years or something. 19, I don't know.
So when did they split up? How old were you?
I was 16 going on 17, but my parents were, like many people, kind of in a loveless marriage for a long time, but didn't fight that I knew of. Right. But it was just very, go ask your dad. He said it was fine. You know, because they weren't going to talk and they weren't going to communicate.
I like that. So, I'd go away for 2 seconds. Come back. He said it was good.
Yeah. So I got off on that a lot. I mean, and of course, at the time, talking about gaining perspective, I was like, oh, it's great. My parents never talk. I can just do what I want. I just say the other one said it was fine. Yeah. And I got a present as a car when my parents got divorced because my mom and I were going to move into an apartment outside the school district so I could finish school. They're like, well, you can just, you know, he couldn't afford a place in the school district, so we're like, well, we're going to get it's a little ways away, but you can just drive to school so you can finish with your class. And I was like, cool, got to do what I want. I just, asked the other one and I
Yeah.
got a car. And it's like, obviously I've been, been able to think about it since then. And
Was that hard for you when they split up?
it was weird because I never had a relationship with my dad, but yet he was under my same roof. My
Why
whole
was
life. And, it was always my mom. I'm very close to my mom, always have been. We've had our ups
Yeah.
and downs, but, and she was very protective. My dad he's an alcoholic. So he would go to work, he'd come home, he'd drink himself to sleep. So he wasn't abusive. He was neglectful, but he wasn't abusive.
Right.
And growing up, my mom would be like, "Oh, your dad's just tired. Oh, your dad's so tired after the long work day." And I'm like, "Makes sense to me. He left when I left for school, and he comes home after, and
Right.
and so he'd always fall asleep, spilling drinks on himself, and my mom, and it's reflecting back, we would put hats on him or take pictures or something because she's trying to be like smoke and mirrors, like, haha, let's just put a sombrero on your dad, take a hat, anyways, go to bed, kids.
Oh my God,
because
the
she's like
pressure on her.
coping to try to be like, no, it's cool, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And I do that so much. Like, I have that instinct where if there's an argument, if I'm upset, if there's a crisis going on, I'm like, no, it's fine, everything's fine. No, I'm not mad at all, it's totally cool. Because I'm just like, whatever it takes to just get through this, and then I process later. So I can only imagine my mom,
Yeah.
just nothing to see here, kids, let me read you your bedtime story, you go to bed.
Right.
And then probably crying herself to sleep,
Yeah.
and
of
feeling
course.
alone, not having her partner there with her. So so I never, my dad never came to a soccer game, a swim meet, anything. So I just never, it was odd because I never knew him, but I didn't know that I didn't know him because I saw him every day.
Right.
And then when my parents split up, we pretty much just never talked because, like, I didn't have anything to talk to him about. And now that he's not under the same roof, I mean, the only
Right.
thing I would say to him is, "Hey, are we out of milk? Oh, like, can I change the channel?" I mean, so
Right.
since he wasn't there for those things, we didn't talk. And he had a moment and he was like, "I didn't know that when I lost your mom, I was going to lose you." And I was like, "But we're not
Wow.
losing anything. We're just not like, there's,
So he wanted a connection?
I don't know because I've tried to reach out a few times, and I try to reach out. This title, it'll be like, Lita, perspective. It's like the ongoing theme of this, and it's just like, so with perspective, each time I try to reach out to him, I try to do it with no expectation.
Yeah. Which is hard.
Which is hard, and I really try to prepare myself with no expectation, but I'm let down every time I hear back.
Right.
And so
Does he get back to you?
kind of, or it'll be like one sentence or like so my ex-boyfriend, he really wanted a relationship with his mom, but his mom didn't want a relationship with him. So when my dad would try, his version of trying, it was so lackluster and so, he's like, "Hey, do you want to have lunch?" And I'd be like, I mean, sure. I don't not want to have lunch, but what I want is a relationship with you, and it's not going to happen over
having
lunch, and
Right.
that's all that it is. And the next gesture will be in 5 years. So
Right.
but he would push me very hard. Yes, we're going to lunch. You're going to lunch with your dad. And because he was like, because I would want my mom to ask me for lunch.
Right,
So
right.
he would really. So that was really the extent of it. The last time I saw him, he was waiting in line for me at an autograph session, and
Oh my
I saw
God.
it, and it was really weird because I was like, "There's my dad." Like, it's just, and it's like, he wasn't horrible to me. He was just nothing. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, and so it was just like, and it was weird. Like, I just kind of didn't feel anything, And then like obviously like I'm getting emotional now, but it's like emotional like I want to miss him. I want to feel more, but I just don't feel anything.
I get
It's just
that.
like I just don't know you.
Yeah, when was that?
Like 2002 or something.
And that was the last time?
Mm-hmm.
I hear ya. What do you think that's done for you? Done to you? Like, how has it affected you?
I mean, it's definitely. I know that it's affected my relationship with men because it makes me keep a wall up and never really give in because I'm like, I don't want the rejection.
Yeah, you're scared
know?
to be disappointed. Because that's what you know.
Mm-hmm.
So scared to be disappointed. Yeah, I hear that.
You know, and I just never felt like accepted by my dad. He was never interested in me, you know, and I do feel like, you know, I've always just leaned on, oh, I'm a tomboy, I'm into like, you know, cool dude stuff, I'm into skateboarding, I'm into hardcore, I'm into martial arts, because it's like, yeah, I wanted approval from guys. I wanted to be around the things that the guys were doing, and I wanted them to be like, wow, you can do this as good as me, high five.
God, this makes so much sense.
And realizing that that's why I was gravitating towards that was a little hard to swallow, because I was like, no, I'm just tough and cool. And it's like, I mean, I might be tough and cool, but I was seeking out these things. I wasn't interested in things that potentially my mom or other women were gravitating to, because I was like, no, I got my mom's approval. She's good. She's going to support whatever I do.
Right.
Let me try to get
Yeah.
some approval, you know.
Yeah. So do you even know where he's at?
Yeah.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't reached out since that time.
So I've reached out, you know, and I'll just like send an email. Hey, like I really, but the thing is, like, I was gonna say I really miss you because I was just going to give some, but I'd say I don't know, like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you at Christmas. I hope you're having a nice, you know, I don't know, like, and he would just be like, nice to hear from you, Merry Christmas, you know, and then I would be looped in for a little while on like these group family in quotation, because cousins and other people that I just don't know and don't talk to, like these like emails of like, you know, you're Irish when, and I was like, why? I'm like, I don't want this spam on this chain with people who have the last name Dumas that I also don't know. But you know, when you have a bond with your family, you're like, all right, I'll take the spam chain, you know, your Irish one emails with the family dinners and the bonding and the whatever. But I was like, I don't just want the spam emails. Right. And so it's, you know, and he very much leans on, you know, I wrote a very long letter explaining my perspective on things and why I am how I am, and it was very hard for me once I realized how much he did affect who I am and how I perceive things, because what I leaned on the whole time was I never got a chance to know him, so he didn't have a chance to affect who I am and how I behave. And when I realized, because of not bonding with him, it really affected that was very hard to swallow, because I was like, damn it, he did affect me. I thought I got out of there, you know, scot-free without
being tarnished in some way. And that's what I always say, and especially to parents and everything, it does make a difference. It makes a difference how the parents raise kids, how they're there for the kids, all of that.
Well, my view, not having kids but having a relationship with my mom, is, you know, you rear and instill values as a child, but once we're adults, you're just friends. You know, you're like, I did the best I could to give you the tools to make good decisions, but now I'm just going to support, you know, win, lose, or draw.
Exactly.
And so while, yes, I have and had reached out to my father as an adult, I was kind of like, you don't deserve the friendship part, because you weren't there to help. Like, when I did need you, like, now we're just like bonus, like, you know what I mean, like my time with my mom is bonus time, we're just friends, you know, so I'm like, you don't get the bonus friendship time because you weren't there. And I've tried to drop that, you know.
I was gonna say, can you forgive him, because is he still an alcoholic?
I at one point I heard that. At one point I had spoken to him, and I guess he was sober, but I don't know how he did it, because I do know some people that have worked through AA, and it's, you know, you cover all your bases. Like the alcohol is just one like factor of all the ways that you live your life.
Right.
And so I felt like he wasn't drinking, but he was like, whatever, I'm not even drinking now. Like he was exonerated of all of the times of being absent in my life. And I was like, okay, great. You're not going to kill you or yourself of driving home drunk. Great. We've eliminated that issue. But like all of the other issues are still there, you know? And so it was like a bummer, because I remember going to lunch with him and him telling me that he wasn't drinking, and I was like, great, like maybe this can be, you know, but he was like 100% the same, except he just didn't have a drink in his hand.
Yeah.
And I was just like, bummer.
Right.
You know, and so that's that thing of just going back to like, I don't want to be disappointed, but I just keep being disappointed. And
do you think you can get to a point where you can forgive him? Like, and just accept for what it is? Yeah,
I do. Like, I don't harbor, like, for the longest time, like, I've never been like, screw you. I don't feel like anger at all, but I just...
There's a sadness.
I don't feel love. Like I said, like, I would love to be, like, it's just...
So how do you think that's affected you with, like you said, your relationships with men?
I think coming to terms with that, and when I wrote him that really long letter, and I read this book, it was called The Secrets You Keep From Yourself. And it's really interesting because, you know, it's easy to lie to, you know, to put on whatever facade you want to, to friends, to public, to whatever, but you think you're being honest with yourself at all times, but as a self-protection, you are not. And you don't even know that you're not being honest with yourself. And it's been so long, but I read this book, and the way it sets it up, it's like, what do you think about this? If you think A, B, or C, you know, and it's just this benign question that there's no reason you'd lie. It'd be like, you know, what do you like, red, yellow, or blue? You know, you're like, oh, blue, you know, and then, you know, you turn the page, it's like, if you picked this, and it really just delves into why you chose it, and I was like, oh no. And that's when I realized the you know, more of my choices and behavior, and so I kind of sat down, and I was like, and at first I think I shut the book, and I was like, no, I'm not going to read that right now, because that was rough. But then I was like, okay, you know, just knowing why you do what you do can make you responsible and make you aware. And it's like, okay, perhaps you skateboarded and took martial arts and went to hardcore shows because you wanted to get acceptance from men. Maybe, perhaps, you know, that's what happened. It's okay. Just be aware and don't go looking for acceptance when you now, I genuinely have a connection with all of these things in my life, these interests that I have. You don't have to not like them now. You don't have to start taking ballet classes and
and go play with Barbie dolls.
But just like be aware and you know that that's part of who you are. And so once I gained that, I was like, okay, I just because I also felt like I couldn't explain to my dad, you know, no, because before that I was just leaning on I didn't know him, he didn't have a chance to affect me, whatever. And then I was like, okay, let's see if we can get anywhere on this. You know, I put the work into myself. Maybe this perspective could help him, because I just never felt any sense of remorse or any sadness from him. And I think that's also what made all right, you don't have any sadness? I don't have any sadness, whatever. So I was like, okay, here. This is why I'm how I am, and this is why this hurt me, and this is why I really wish you would have come to my soccer games, and this is really why I wish you would have told me goodnight. I really wish, you know, like all of this is why these small things affect me to this day. And he was just basically, his response was, one of the 10 commandments is honor thy mother and father, so you have to honor me, and I did the best I could, so I don't know what you want from me.
Oh,
I was like, I don't know. It wasn't like of course it was an email. I'm putting the tone I'm choosing to put on it.
Still.
But I was just like, okay, cool, we're done. You know, and so then, you know, I'd wait a few years and be like, no, I'm just gonna do a simple Merry Christmas, see what happens, you know. And so, I just think that his lack of ownership is made me, and I have, and I'm like, your reality is what you believe. I mean, that's the only,
Obviously,
so I'm like, I think like he thinks he did the best he could. I accept that. I don't have like anger towards him, but I just can't force like love or a bond to be there that's not there.
That's not there. Some people were meant to be mothers, some were meant to be fathers, and some weren't. And I think obviously with him, he had no idea how to be a father. He doesn't know necessarily how to be there for anybody else but himself.
Well, the interesting thing too is talking about, and this is like even just realizing this right now as we're talking about this.
Okay.
Especially, times change now more, where like people are more evolved as far as just like you can do whatever you want. Like that vibe is out there so much more now than it was when my parents were growing up. And they did the thing, and my mom's told me this. They went to college. What do you do after that? You get married. What do you do after that? You work your way up the ranks of your job, and you have kids. And and I remember when I left college, and the first thing I did was I saved up money and I went to Europe for a month. And it was just because it's out there, and I hadn't been there, and and my mom was like, and of course I'm nervous, like, hey, so I'm gonna drop out of college, and and she was, I was like, I want to go to Europe. And she was like, that's so great. I wish I would have done that.
Oh. Great.
I mean, her thing was after I graduated from college, I wish I would have done. But still, she was just like, all right, I'm not going to split hairs. Go.
Because she's seen the picket white fence is not really the big, all of that.
Yeah. And she said, she was like, I don't know. I mean, like, we'd been together for a couple years. I thought he was cute, and that's just what the next step was, is he got married. And she's like, it was very, all right, cool, I guess, let's get married. You know what I mean? And it's almost just like a glorified version of an arranged marriage, as far as like, this is what you do. You just marry the person that you're with when you're, out of college. So, and I think so. Him following just like the steps of what you're supposed to do. He's like, I provide for my family. I do this thing, and it's just in this like no emotion, like lack of emotion, just following the steps of life. And from an early stage, just like that, going back to school, it's like feeling trapped. I was like, no, I need to like just like I just need to be everywhere at all times and see everything and
breathe
and just do all the things, because this one line of things like can't be the only
doesn't line up. Is that, do you want kids?
I've never really wanted kids. I have been with partners who really wanted children, and at that time I could envision a like a pack, but I'll be honest, my thought process was still, I mean, it's just to be like Adam, when I was with Edge, was the talking about having children together, and I was kind of like, all right, I'll like, for the sake of our relationship, I will do this thing, and I won't not like. I'm sure I will love the kid, and we will have the but it's not my dream. It's yours, and we can do this thing. So, but being able to envision, I was like, there will be two supportive parents. This thing can, but it was like I was approaching it from like a business mind as opposed to like an emotional. Like, yeah, I really want to be a mom, and so.
Which again, not everybody is meant for that, and I just don't think you should force it. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. I mean, there's, like you said, there's more choices in this life now that we've. It doesn't have to be the white picket fence. It doesn't have to be.
And honestly, that was one of my big reasons for moving out to San Francisco. Was as you're, and you're kind of just, people don't, when they're your acquaintances, they don't know exactly how old you are or whatever. They just know, and I never cared. All my friends, I'm the single person at dinner, or like, I didn't care being the seventh wheel or the fifth wheel or the third wheel, you know what I mean? I was like, cool, I'll come too. But just especially, I feel like more, I was in Atlanta, in the South, and the cashier will ask you, when are you getting married? When are you having kids? It's just like, I'm like, that is not acceptable casual conversation. There are so many factors that go into
Right.
why people choose to get married or not, or have children or not, or medical things that go along with that.
Absolutely.
Like, this is not tea party talk, you know? But it was just like, it seemed like every day it was, when are you going to get married? When are you having kids?
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
a
all right,
different
I
mentality.
am out of here, man. Like,
Yeah.
and so I just picked San Francisco. I mean, it's beautiful. I loved it. I had some friends there, but it was more just like, all right, people do different stuff out here, and it's
Right.
not as, like, I don't think, I have not, I know for a fact I have not been asked once since I've moved out to the West Coast if or when I'm getting married, or if or when
Yeah,
I,
me
you know,
neither.
I'm gonna have
Living in
kids,
California.
because it's just like,
Yeah.
there's other things I'm going to talk, like other questions that are like much higher on this list of
Right.
things that I'm just going to, you know, talk with you about.
Right. Well, you touched on, as we were talking about, you know, the choices for men, and then you touched on your relationship with Adam. I think it's a good segue into, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about, like, the way that everything was affecting you, and affecting you. You know, you had a relationship with Matt.
Mm-hmm.
We all know, you know, all the things with the Matt and Edge and all of that, but take me back, like, to, well, you and Matt, I mean, you gravitated together for some reason.
Mm-hmm. So I knew Matt, you know, on the Independent. I met him on an Independent show. We were, you know, we weren't, until I was in the WWE, we you know, became pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it was the bond on the love of chasing our dream.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was our main bond, always. Sure, we had good banter, we got along, we never argued, you know, like,
Yeah.
but I remember when I broke my neck, and I was at home, you know, and he's on the road, and they're doing their thing, and it was the first chance I had a chance to reflect. From the moment I decided I wanted to be a wrestler till the time I broke my neck, I didn't think about anything except what's the next baby step I can do to take forward to progress my career, to increase my chances of doing all the things I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that was what I was thinking about. And I mean, as was Matt for a much longer time, you know, so it was a great thing to bond on, and it was a great creative, oh, maybe this, here, what do you think about this finish, what do you think about this gear, what do you know what I mean? That part of it was 100% fulfilling, you know. But I do remember when I broke my neck and I'm at home, and everything came to a screeching halt for a second, and I had a moment to reflect on accomplishing, you know, like, whoa, you did that for a minute there, you know, because
everything's going so fast.
Yeah, and then I also had a second to realize there was anything outside of the wrestling industry,
right?
Because every and all things pertain to only that.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's the only way people are going to be successful, is to just dive in 100%. I was forced to have to see what else was out there and just reflect and think about
because you were out. This was something that happened on a set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went and did a television show I had not heard of prior to
Dark
getting
Angel,
a phone
right?
call from talent relations being like, anyways, you'll be in Vancouver from this day to this day and shooting this show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I remember having this moment that, you know, I wasn't in an argument with Matt. We were slightly disconnected while I was at home recuperating, because he was still, you know, 100% into his career, and I was 100% out of it at that moment, because I had to be.
Right.
And I remember thinking, yeah, we're not going to be together when our careers are over, because that is our bond
together.
The way we view life, our interests, our, like, they don't really align, you know. And
how did that feel when you
it
figured
was
that out?
so weird, because I was like, okay, but so now that I know that, should we split up, but you know, I love him and I love our time together, so no, but I can't see growing old with this person, and it was weird. But I think that's like, it's okay. You can have awesome, great chapters and learn from
Absolutely.
people,
Absolutely.
and knowing that they're not here forever, and they may be 2 months from now or 2 years from now, and that's okay. But, and I say that now, I didn't know that then. I was like, oh, what do I do with this information that I just came to?
It's hard when you're in that to
Yeah.
figure it out. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was like, anyways, I'm going to watch another marathon on HGTV and be depressed and eat Little W's in my neck brace. You
Yeah.
know? Think about that.
Yeah.
But when Adam and I started to bond on such a deeper level, as well as having the creative outlet with our careers and stuff, it was, and I know both of us, we were kind of like, oh shit, like once we started to realize we were more than just two bros just hanging out, and so the hard thing that has always been with this time period is, we realized we were going down a path that we shouldn't, and what I mean by that is mentally, and so we'd kissed finally and freaked out, and we're like, you know what, I was like, and around that same time I tore my ACL. It was a pay-per-view with Trish, and I was going to be away, and so he was like, like, it was, Matt was off the road, Adam was on the road, and I said, hey, you know what, let's take this as an opportunity. We need to just be in our own worlds and evaluate, and don't do anything because like, don't do anything for me, I'm not going to do anything for you. I need to figure out what is right for my world. You need to figure out what's right for your world. If we meet up on the other side, cool. If not, I support and respect whatever your decisions are. He's like, okay, that sounds like the mature adult thing to do.
Right.
He left a message on my cell phone that pretty much just spelled out everything, and his feelings for me and his intentions and what he wanted to do and everything, and but I didn't know that. I had my phone, this was at a time where we weren't as glued to our cell phones, and I was coming home, my knee was hurt, I was coming home, I turned off my phone, and I was ready to just kind of check out, just from wrestling, from anything, and just kind of take it in. And Matt was just feeling, he's like, something's not right,
Oh boy, can you tell? Right? You just know.
And so I was asleep, and he went and checked my cell phone, and there's that message from Adam, and it was not like, oh, he was just worried about my knee, whatever. I was just like, and I just looked at him, and I just said, I'm sorry. And I took my keys, and I got in my car, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and I just started driving, and it wasn't until about an hour, I didn't even know, I didn't have any GPS turned on, I didn't know, I just was like, about an hour into just driving, and I was like, guess I'm gonna go to my mom's, and then, and so I called, I was like, hey, I'm on my way, I don't really know, I'll be there at some point today. It was like, I don't even know what direction I'm headed, because I was just like,
What's going through your mind at that time? What was going through?
It was like a hypnotized, numb, like, stop at red lights, look at the speed limit, because it was just like, and
like it all hit. It all culminated at that moment.
And it was just chaos. And Adam's wife, she would call me every 5 minutes and just yell, and I would pick up the phone every time, and I would just sit there and I'd say, I'm sorry, and she'd be like, and then this and this and that, and and then like, but
and you understand her side,
right?
Obviously.
I mean, of course, she was saying terrible things, accusing me of things that I did not do, but I understood that of course she's devastated, so I was just like, I'm sorry, and then wait, she would do it again, and I'd be like, yeah, you can yell at me, you know what I mean? And I just, again, and I would just, and as tumultuous as that was, like, and like, not you, and not Trish, but for the most part, like, every woman in that locker room judged me. Every of the other wrestlers' wives, the boys, judged me, and but as like shameful like as they acted towards me, I was punishing myself even worse. You know, I was like, you're terrible. You know, like, how could you like do this to everyone involved? You know, like, and so I just felt like I deserved everything I got and more. You know, because I just felt so bad about it.
And I remember pulling you on the side, and I get emotional too because I remember that moment, and I remember pulling you on the side and just telling you, like, nobody should be judging anybody. Oh my God, we've all done things in our lives, you know? And, but I remember I saw you beating yourself up to no end. And I was like...
And I remember too, I was so skinny. And I remember everybody was like, oh my God, you look so good. And I was like, yeah, I have ulcers. I don't eat.
Yeah.
I, like, don't sleep.
Right.
So, but I was like, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
So, it was just rough. And as bad as it was, you know, Adam and I tried to do this, like, half in, half out thing. You know, because we always said we didn't regret our bond, we regret how we went about it. Mm-hmm. You know? So, but we tried to, because he as well felt so bad, so we're like, we don't want to put it in anybody's face, we don't, you know,
right.
They're both, like, everybody's hurting so bad, we don't want to, so, you know, I didn't have anybody to weather the storm with, and, so it was like, you know, we tried, we had some great time, we had some great moments, but, like, ultimately it was too tainted going in on the front end to be able to sustain, really.
Yeah.
You know, and so and it took just like so long to gain, like, to be comfortable and okay with everything.
Yeah.
And our whole thing, Adam and I, like, our whole thing always had been like, well, I don't want to say anything and I'm not going to talk about it because I can actually deny about 80% of the recount and how it went about and what our actual level of involvement was. Mm-hmm. But I can't deny 100% of it, so I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, and ultimately we were in the wrong, so whatever punishment I get, whatever happens, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that for you when it got turned into a storyline? When you were out there with him, and then Matt, you know,
it was
like
everything I could do to get on the plane to come to work. And honestly, again, I was like, part of, like, punishing myself was like, you know, the office came to Adam and I and said, well, I mean, so Matt ultimately got fired for being unprofessional, but then because it became such a hot story,
yeah,
they said, we want to turn this into a story, but you guys have been professional. He hasn't. There is money involved in this storyline, but it's your call. You know, we're like, well, we felt terrible that he lost his job over it, so we're like, yeah, we made our bed, we'll lie in it. And, mm-hmm. you know, and so basically it was like, so that he could have a job, I came to work and did that story, and
how was it, Faith? When's the first encounter that you had to get? Because you had to talk to him.
I think there was, like, sometime early on, there was a Bite This episode, like, that it was like an early internet show that the WWE did, and they're like, we just want it to be real, and I was like, you don't, because that's me crying and saying sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make, you know, like,
right.
And also Adam feeling really bad and saying sorry, so that you don't want it to be real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so I just remember sitting there just like, my jaw clenched so tight because, you know, that whole thing, it's just like I wanted to cry, scream, curse, and walk out at all times.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, finally graduating from that story and getting to have fun with as like the rated R couple and doing all the ridiculous things that we did, but it's like then I could get into like a character version of this thing, because it just didn't feel like a character. It felt like
Real.
yeah, it felt way too real, but not in a way of like, okay, whatever. So there's this portion of this that's real being acted out and expressed in a completely different way than I actually feel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was, it was very hard to come to work.
I was gonna say, because I remember also the fans were
The fans were
relentless.
terrible. The majority of the entire locker room was terrible to me, and and then there's being there and Matt's there, and you know what I mean. It was.
Can I tell you that I think that maybe what was also going on, because now that I've known you a little longer, now that we've talked and all that, we talked about the fact that you put walls up,
Mhm.
and we talk about the fact why you put those walls up. I think that some of the girls didn't know who you really were.
Mhm.
I think if you would have let them in at the very, very onset,
Mhm.
let them see the heart that I've gotten to know and seen and love and adore you, I think that they probably would have been more loving and more forgiving and
Yeah.
and all of that. But it's hard when somebody is hard, you know, and walled up. It is hard to show compassion towards them.
Sure, for sure. And I mean, and I see that now, so I don't hold like resentment towards people that were either cold or judging me, because they were only judging what they knew and saw of me,
Right.
you know. And so when you only have certain pieces of the puzzle, you can't, you can't solve
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. What have you learned from that whole ordeal? What was the biggest thing you took away from all of that?
I think just acceptance of me with all my flaws, and acceptance of everyone else with all theirs as well.
I think this is important. It's important because as human beings, we can be so judging. And, you know, there's that whole expression when you point the finger, three fingers are pointing back.
Yeah.
And it is so true. And I try to encourage that in people, is be more understanding why this person is doing that. I don't think they
But I
wake up in the morning and
also-
go, I just
yeah.
want to screw people's lives.
For sure. But I'm also like, not say like learn, but I'm very like to younger women or anybody that I see, or in this business, and I'm just like, do not do that. Like, please, I am telling you, please do not do that.
Oh God, I think that's very well put. The number one thing from Lita. Oh my gosh, I mean, yeah, because you see, and it's
And I get to why it's so tempting, or you fall into that, because we're around all these guys all the time, and you share this experience and you have this bond, because we only are like living this crazy life in this tiny fishbowl, and how you get these bonds with these people. But I'm just like, just don't do that.
Yeah. You know what I also tell people is here, it's like if they start seeing a relationship that is not gratifying, it is not fulfilling, it, you see that you're in an impasse, that you are not going to be able to grow old with this person. If you see that, end it.
Oh my God, that is such the best advice, because I can say I have learned things from all of the amazing men that I've been with. However, most of them, I wish I was with them about half the time or less than I was. Because I was like, got that lesson, I learned that from you. I was with you for 3 years, but we could have done it in a year.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. And I always say that when you don't cut it off, all it does is preventing you from actually going off and being free to meet the right person.
Well, and it also
And it
prevents you from like taking the good with them, because now you're just building wasted time on top of like,
And
all
you're
right,
resentful
cool.
and
You did learn this, you had
yeah.
these fun times and that, but then on top of that, you built all the crappy times.
Yeah.
And then so now it takes you a long time to get back to being able to pick out the good times and the information and the stuff that you learned from that relationship.
Yeah.
Just get there quicker.
Absolutely. So you learn. Now you're in a relationship now.
Yes, and there's 0 level drama. He's never watched wrestling. None of his friends have ever watched wrestling. Because you know when like you meet somebody and they're not really into it, but they're like, oh my god, my nephew loves you. You know, like, and then they like are somehow now interested, or they're like, I guess it's a big deal. Like he's just like, he has no idea that if you care, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
has he seen any footage of you at all? No?
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I think I've showed him maybe like a 30-second package or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like a high spot thing, and I was like, yeah, so basically that. But yeah, he was just like,
yeah,
oh, that's cool, like, you know, and then make some like really cheesy wrestling joke, you know, and I'm just like, He's like, come on, what? That was funny. I was like, you don't understand. I've heard all of these jokes for the longest time.
Yeah.
You know? But it's so nice and just chill. Yeah.
And how long have you guys been together?
Just over a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is in San Fran, right?
Yeah, in San Francisco.
Wow, this is cool. I mean, I'm seeing you really happy, and that's what's great is seeing you in a good place and zen and in a happy relationship.
I mean, and I think the good thing too at this point is whenever things are bad, and know that you just recently went through, you know, a hard time with your dad and everything. It's like, but you know that it's going to be okay. You're going to heal, and so the hard times aren't as overwhelming as they once were when you're younger, because you're just like, oh my god, everything is terrible, I can't deal. Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, I prefer not to deal. I have to, because that's what's on my plate, and then there's gonna be another plate in front of me, you know, and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I would love to know, like, your time at WWE. What do you sum up? It is your 6 years, right? You were seven. Yeah. What would you sum that up if you had to sum it up in one word?
Oh my gosh. Thankful.
That's great. Yeah. It's like you said, though, sometimes you don't have the moment, you get caught up in it. But when you look back, you go, whoa. Right? Yeah. What was your favorite part of the whole journey? Because you had quite a journey.
Yeah.
You had a journey of, like, not only just emotional, mental, all of this, that, you know, with relationship, like a personal side, then you had the journey of working with Trish, and oh my gosh, you guys had the most memorable feuds ever.
Yeah, and coming out with a lifelong bond over it and everything, you know?
Yeah, and then just you know, the impact that you made. I don't know if you realize, I mean, this is just a few of the women that say that they were completely inspired and affected by you. Maurice, Eve Torres, Becky Lynch, Karma, and I had Bailey on my show, and she was just talking about you and just saying what an impact you made. How does that feel when you hear that?
It's humbling, because, you know, like you're kind of telling me that for the first time, especially with all those people, and
oh, I didn't know that you never heard that.
Yeah, I mean, Becky and Bailey, but, you know, and that's been an interesting, that's been awesome, because I've been able to, like, work hand in hand with them, and I just, like, I just hope they, like, I love seeing them and their success, and everybody, you know, right now just taking it to that next level. It's like, cool, like, take this and run with it. But I just, like, I hope that the people that I've had the level to work intimately with, like, I do feel pressure. Like, I don't want you to be let down. I want you, like, the thing that got you here, I want you to be like, cool, I'm glad that's who got me there, not like, oh, and then I met her and she was a jerk, and she was, you know what I mean, or whatever. So I do feel responsibility.
That's good, though, because I remember, I think it was Cyndi Lauper one time that said on a show, don't ever meet your idol.
Yeah, for sure. And I have met people that I'm just like, wah, wah.
Yeah, and I remember hearing that, and I'm like, whoa, I don't ever want anybody here to think about that with me. You
might
know?
have been there. I was actually, this is not like an idol, but I think our agent at the time represented Bo Duke, not
Yes.
Bo Duke, John Schneider. But I was just
Right.
like, and they're like, oh, meet him, he's really nice. And I was like, nope. And then I was like, I want him to be Bo Duke. I want to picture him in that General Lee.
Yeah.
And that is all I want. And they're like, we're all going to dinner. And I think you were,
Yeah,
like, come to
yeah,
dinner. I was
yeah.
like, I'm not coming to dinner. I'm going to eat a burrito in my room. And I'm not
Oh,
going
and
to.
he's really cool. Sorry to tell you, but he's really nice. Like, super nice, so.
I mean, and I'm sure he is, but it's kind of like, no, I don't want to shoot the shit with John. I just want Bo Duke. to
Yeah,
be my-
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
So, as larger than life that Lita may have been to,
Yes,
women,
yeah.
I hope that Amy is as cool as they had the vision of Lita is.
Right. I know one of my idols that I want to meet is Pat Benatar.
Oh man, yeah,
Oh.
that voice. Whew.
Wow. And that's all I did was sing her songs over and over and over, and I got to see her in a concert, and it was so funny because I was such a freaking mark. I had
Were you
the cover of the album, and I'm sitting there in the stands holding it, and she pointed at me, and I'm like, oh my God! I'm like, and then I stopped and I went, really, Lil?
Caught
I'm
yourself.
like, whatever, I don't care. But I've never gotten to meet her, and a part of me is scared.
You should be.
It's scared.
You should. When I met Paul Rubens and I just had a breakdown.
Oh no.
Yeah, because I couldn't deal. Just don't do it. Just you had your moment. She pointed at you. Don't,
Really? Because
don't
I've been
do
offered
it.
to maybe go backstage and meet her.
Don't do it. It's scary. It's terrifying.
How do you feel then when, like, in fans, you've been signing all weekend and they come up to you like, oh my God, I've always wanted to meet you. And do you feel an extra pressure?
No, now because I have been, I think, away for so long, and so many of my fans, they're like our age, or and so they're able to be like, hey, it's so glad to meet you, like, and we're like, we get to have a conversation, like we get to have an
chill.
adult conversation now, and I appreciate that, and I always say, hey, thanks for sticking with me, I was like, I'm glad that we can just have this conversation as opposed to access, and they're pushing you through, and you barely you can't even write personalize it to them, and and while as just flash as those encounters were, and they've come back and told me so many years later, like, I got to meet you once at Access, and you smiled at me, or you pointed at my album, but I didn't get to meet you until now, and then now we get to have a human conversation, and
Do you feel a difference signing autographs now as you did back then? Because I know I did.
oh yeah,
This weekend was completely different.
oh
for me.
yeah, I just feel I was like I said, like it's more like you're conversing with
Yeah.
people who happen to be wrestling fans,
Right.
as opposed to Lita in the
Yeah.
moment signing.
Yeah. I really enjoyed my weekend.
Yeah.
Autograph signing.
Fantastic. And I didn't know if I wanted to come, if I was going to come, and I am. So it's been a great weekend with the fans. Hall of Fame was amazing, and
Yeah.
then getting to go to the show later and watch everyone.
Yeah.
I was
no.
gonna say the women, but then I felt rude. Watch everyone. I will be watching everyone, but I want to see what the women do.
Oh, I'm excited. And last year at this time, you were unveiling the brand new WWE Women's Championship.
Yeah, I mean, this is the antithesis of last WrestleMania, where I was 100% in the trenches and with those girls who were 60 feet on the side of the stadium as we pulled up, and had worked,
Yeah.
so many hours and hours and hours and hours to get to that spot, and just want to see it through the best I possibly could behind the scenes, to a smack on the ass, go get 'em, girls.
Yeah. How
and-
did it feel, though, to reveal this title? It's like, okay, no longer divas. It is now superstars.
Yeah, I mean, and it is, to me, it's like, again, superstars. I think the term diva was around when Trish and I were starting, but I never owned it. I didn't consider, and they did always refer to us as all as superstars,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, no kidding. So
Right.
in one way it's like, finally, but in another way it's like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. Like, this
Yeah.
is just a formality, really, but we're there.
Yeah. What do you think about, I know you've gotten an opportunity, when you came back, you were a producer, right? And part of creative team and all of that. How was that time for you, like, to be on the other end?
Extremely tough.
Yeah.
challenging. But the girls, like women's supposed to be the correct term, but to me, girls, it's like like I don't know, it's a term of endearment, you know. But
yeah, I hear
the
you.
girls are what brought me to work every week, you know, and watching them grow and being able to give anything I had of information or something, like I wish someone would have told me this, and then watching them take that information, digest it, and apply it, and I was like, oh cool, it worked. Like they didn't know that thing, now they know that thing, they did it and it worked.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was fulfilling. That part of it was fulfilling.
Putting matches together.
More just, and I was very, in some ways, hands off. I'm like, I mean, they're so athletic. They have every access to at the PC of getting ring time and the padded ring to figure it out and everything. My thing is, what I would do is I'd say, nope, we need a teaser right there. No, I need to feel sorry for you right there. You know, and so I would give perspective. I'm like, how do you want to portray that? Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna give you moves. That's you. But, you know, you're more athletic than I can ever try to act out right here and tell you. But you know, I need this sort of moment right here.
Yeah.
Tell me what you got. And, you know, and then they would give me suggestions, but I'd be like, no, like something, I need a little something like this is, and then I would give the most vanilla, like prototype. I'd be like, something like this, but your version of this. And then they'd be like, oh, okay, you know, and then I'm like, no, because it's yours, but put it here.
Right.
And so that's what I felt where my strength was with them. Whereas, you know, some people are like, here, I got a new hold for you. Let me show you all this stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie and I'm not going to claim, and nobody would say, hey, we should, for all these wrestling holds, let's hire Lita. You know, I mean, that is not my strong suit, and I would not try to
people don't realize, though, that the little things that you were talking about, how important it is. Mm-hmm. We have to care for the person. We have to find out what, you know, the vulnerable point. Mm-hmm. Why do we want to cheer for you? Yeah. All that kind of stuff. So I think it's great. What was your least favorite thing of working as a producer and a writer and all that good stuff?
Well, I mean, I can sum it up by saying politics, but then I can also just say, because the team is so large, because it has to be.
Yeah.
I feel like so many decisions are made from the top down with limited information. And so they're making big decisions without all the information. And that was a bummer. Yeah. You know, and without having the opportunity to be like, but wait, I just want to tell you that
I gotta fill in this gap because the story's not making sense because this is missing.
You know, and so it was tough.
Is it disappointing that you're not there anymore? Yeah. Yes. Is there a lot more? Like, what more did you want to like keep adding to it?
I just felt like it took a minute to get the girls to trust me and to have a bond with them and to fight for them, and I did, and I felt privileged to be able to fight for them, and they don't like a fight though.
A little
that
too much.
They is in quotation marks. You know what they say? That same they.
We'll leave that to interpretation. So what's next for you? I mean, I heard that you actually got in the ring after 5 years of not being in the ring.
That was impromptu, yeah. I go back, when I went to, Maryland Championship Wrestling was one of the places that I trained before I was at WWE. And they had a school, Bone Breakers, and I was there. I was with Christian York and Joey Matthews at the time, and so I went and trained there a little bit, or at least, you know, got in the ring before, and I said, okay, I want to train for your wrestling school. I want to get in your wrestling school. How much is it? And I didn't have whatever it was. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a couple $1,000s or something like that. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna try to save that. I'm gonna come back. And he was like, you know what? He's like, I've already seen you. He's like, you're gonna make it, and it's gonna look good coming from my school. So you're welcome here anytime.
Oh wow.
And so, you know, I would just soak it up. And so I go back there. And I just
I love that you remember that. I love that you give back.
So yeah, and so it's really important for me to maintain my relationship with them. And so they're like, oh well, they're like, I was like, what do you have me doing tonight, boss? You know, and he's like, well, you know, you want to ref a match? And I was like, I feel like that's pretty grossly unfulfilling for everyone involved.
Like, you don't want to be in a striped shirt?
Well, I mean, it's like the crowd's just like, cool, she counted to 2 a bunch, and then she counted to 3, you know? And then, and I was just like, well, what's the setup? And, you know, and they're like, it's like a 6-man, and there's this manager, and I was just like, why don't we make it an 8-man? And I kind of said it half joking, and he's like, are you serious? And I was like, I don't know. And
when had you? How long since you'd stepped into the ring? I mean, I know 5 years as far as wrestling, but
I mean, honestly, like at Tough Enough, and when I was producing with the women, I'd mess around and roll around in there, and
so it wasn't like you're cold.
Yeah, it wasn't like November 2006. And then I just like jumped in there, but it was like, you know, I kind of jokingly said make it an 8-man, and we, you know, just went out there, and it was just fun.
How did it feel?
I mean.
Did it feel like you miss it?
No, I mean, because to me, it was like, because it was an 8-man, like, I might as well have been a ref. I mean, I was just kind of in there messing around. And I know, you know, one of the guys, Bruiser, was still there. He was wrestling when I was there. And so, you know, we're just like halfway having a conversation on the apron and you know, go in there and do something. So, I mean, it was fun. And I will say, like, that is what I miss right now. Ever since I started wrestling. So when I retired, I was already in a band. When I retired, I started my radio show. I had that for 5 years. I was doing theater in Atlanta. And then, so while I don't get asked if I'm getting married or having children out in San Francisco, I don't have a group of like artist people. I don't have anything artistic going on. I don't have anything creative going on. I've got beautiful scenery. I go for awesome hikes, and I really, you know, I enjoy my time out there on the West Coast. But I don't have a creative outlet right now, and I would love to find that next right project, because I did kind of just realize this last week. I was like, whoa, since December to now, which is only a couple months, and it is nice to have a little bit of time to do nothing ish.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm like, okay, I want something to put energy into.
And I think it's also because for some reason WrestleMania weekend there's such an energy into the like.
Oh, so it's such an inspiring.
It is. It's so inspiring. That's like, okay, when I get home, I got to do this. Yeah. Absolutely. I've already got my list of things that I want to get going on.
You make lists. So.
I know. I still make lists. Part of it is if I don't, I'll forget. Which sometimes comes with age too. You're like, what did I say that I was gonna do? Oh my gosh. So if you had to choose something in San Francisco, what would it be? Like, is it acting? Is it, you know?
I mean, so right now I'm actually at the City College. I'm taking a welding class, and that just kind of came about because I was just like, okay. Here's how I make decisions. I went to go take a woodworking class because I thought, I was like, I want to build some shelves or something, like, because I don't know how, and then it was sold out, and like the class was full, and then a friend was like, oh, my friend's teaching a welding class, and I was like, okay. so I was like, is that the thing with the torch and the metal, you know? But and so I'm taking that, and it's fun because it is so when you're wrestling a match, you cannot think about your lists. You know, you can't think about anything because you have your safety, you have your partner's safety, and by your opponent's safety, you know, you're taking the crowd in, you're doing all this stuff. So all you're doing is what you're doing in the moment. All right, so with welding, it's similar because you're like, I could burn myself, I could light this workshop on fire. You know, I could. So in that way, it is very like you have to 100% focus on what you're doing at that time. But so whatever, that's like one thing. But and I just looked up, I was like, I wonder if there's any improv groups around here. Like, you know, comedian improv groups, just because I was like, oh, maybe I'd maybe do that. I don't know, I'm like definitely in a down for whatever kind of phase right now, because you know, when you've let yourself off the hook with like your pressure, or like you're like I'm okay with me, so if someone else isn't, like, that's their problem, not mine. Right. So I'm just kind of down for whatever. I say whatever falls in my lap, but and I always go back to, but nothing's gonna fall in your lap watching Netflix on your couch.
No, you're absolutely right.
So yeah, whatever falls in my lap, but you kind of make it fall in your lap
Yeah.
because you go out there and sniff around.
How was your experience with singing? Or do you miss that at all? With the
So that was a performance and everything, and I know that. I mean, my intention was, I'm just never like, oh, I have a great voice. I was like, I just want to, it was my emotion. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to get out there and, like, get it out. And so I took some voice lessons just to preserve my, like, you know, when I'm on tour, just to be able to sing night after night. And she, you know, get some tricks. And she's like, you're going 100 miles an hour with the gas pedal on.
Yeah.
You know, because
people don't realize.
Yeah. So, you know, some technical things on just how to open my throat up. But I wasn't just like, oh, I've got to share this thing with the world. It was more just like, hey, this is my tool I'm using to emote. And so I did look at it more as like you know, it's just a creative.
And you feel like you got it at like having the time with the Luchagores. You feel like you.
Yeah, I would do something else, but it's not like a specific thing that I'm like, I need that again.
Yes, I hear you. Your tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
You've gotten quite a few more. I've seen.
Yeah, I wanted to keep my look the same when I was at WWE, you know, and so it just intentionally I didn't get any more while I was there.
Yeah.
But you know, I wanted them, but then so.
What is the meaning on some of them?
Oh man, I don't ever want to get too many at once because I would say, you know, people will go and get sleeves in a weekend at this point.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but that's still only telling such a short chapter of your life. Like whatever you're into, whatever you were thinking at that time. So, I guess like recent additions, I have vegetables all over me.
You do?
Yeah, with the smiling faces.
Oh my God, you're
'cause
right.
they're happy that I eat them. And
that's cute. That's creative.
I do love, my favorite is Al Santo, but it's like as a Verona de Guadalupe because I'm like, wrestling is my religion essentially is what that's telling to me and my influence of the Lucha Libre. And then I stumbled onto one of my side journeys. I have a house down in Nicaragua and I've become very attached to their culture and that place, and I've met a lot of beautiful people down there. And so one of my sugar skulls is a luchador, but it's the Nicaraguan flag like turned inside out and made into a luchador. So
really cool. Do you have these posted on
I do somewhere because I have fans walk up to them and they're like, look, I have your tattoo.
They copy them.
You sure do. So let me let you know that's the Nicaraguan flag. Let me let you know what you have on your body.
Right, that's awesome. Well, I tell you, one time this guy came up to me and on his leg he had my face tattooed with wings, and I was like, oh my God, what?
Wow.
So, yeah, that was crazy. So maybe it's better that they have this. I don't know. All I said was that poor guy. I was like, I hope I never do anything to piss him off. Could you imagine?
I know, right?
Could you imagine, like, if after he met me, she was not as cool as I thought she was going to be.
Big X over his leg.
Yeah.
Well, I will have you know my next tattoo will not be a portrait of your face with wings.
Please don't. Oh my God. So, you know, this has been great, everything that you have been sharing, for sure. And like I said, I've gotten now to know you more throughout the years, really get to know you, which has been so
and it was so weird. So many people were gone when I came back this past year, and I was like, oh, good, Lilian's there. But we never got to talk because our schedules were the exact opposite of like when you were going to be busy and me. And and then
it's weird. It is weird how people were like, oh my God, the two of you. I don't even think we posted a picture together.
No, I mean, we had, like when I
the locker
first
room,
came back, I was like, oh my gosh, and then you're like, cool.
Yeah, it's just life. I know.
Nice dress, Lil. Hey, you know,
Oh yeah, see your little dog.
Yeah.
But I again though, now I don't know what it is lately I've seen you put the wall down, and I've seen you've let me in. I don't know who else you're letting in, but I love it.
Well, I still am. It's a hard balance for me to find. Like people that I've known for a long time, even if I haven't known them well, I'm pretty comfortable around. But I still do, like with social media being so prevalent and the way people just express themselves, you know, and I have a hard time with it still, and so I have been, especially when I've, you know, kind of lived for the most part just a, you know, like a regular, like, private life. I'm not all the way comfortable sharing my private life, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I do find a hard balance of having an appreciation for my fans and wanting to talk to them and let them in, but also, like, maintaining my privacy.
I hear you, which is not easy.
No.
In this, for sure, it's not easy, but
Because it's like, no offense. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like my private time is, like, so, I don't know, there's not a specific thing I don't want someone to know or see. Mm-hmm. It's just all of it I don't want you to know.
So it's judgment, though. That's what it tells me. In a way, you're scared. Maybe it's because of your dad. You're scared to be judged.
Well, I mean, I came out dripping wet from, like, a hot Pilates class the other day, hair on top of my head, and this person was like, "Oh my God, Lita!" And I remember, like, and I was just like, "That's weird, but hey," you know. Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, I want a selfie," and, like, took a picture of us, and I was like, I wasn't before. I would have been like, "Oh my God, and where's that picture gonna go?" And I look terrible, like, I'm so, and I was just like, whatever, I don't care.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like, it doesn't bother me, but I was more just like, oh, I don't want to post my hike. It's more like it's my hike. It's my thing. Yes. I don't want people. You know what I mean?
No,
like this. I'm having this special day in this moment. Like.
Well, I think it's because we share so much with fans that there are times that it gets to be where those special private moments are sacred because you cannot be out there for everybody full time 24/7.
And I do think even people that have no exposure whatsoever in the public, I had a friend, and she was like, "Oh my God, my things normally get 14 likes. It got 21 likes." And I'm like, who cares? You know what I mean? But so it is like that culture of looking for validation, I think, is what makes me tune out and be like,
well, it's you being in the back of the room.
Yeah.
You see that? I just saw that correlation. It's you going to the back of the room.
Yeah, I'm not going to compete for your likes.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Oh my God, isn't this crazy how you can actually see your life and how it all ties together? But for sure. And I do see people are so stuck on how many followers do I have, how many things I'm going. Oh my God, if that's what you're basing your whole life on, good luck to you, because man, it's tough. It's tough if you're gonna look at life that way, right? On how many followers you get, how many retweets do you get, how many likes do you get? Just go out and live.
yeah. And I mean, and it's just I do it like, you know, take Pee Wee's advice. You know, I lived it. You know, I'll go to places all the time and not take my camera, not take my phone, because it's like, no, I'm just gonna do this, you know. Yeah. And a lot of that I do get from my boyfriend, who is like opposite social media person, you know, does not have stuff, and he'll joke, you know, I'll be taking pictures, you know, and I haven't been on the West Coast as long as he has, and I'm like, oh my God, this redwood, it's so tall, and I'm taking like a sideways panorama, and he's like, oh, cool, how many likes do you think that'll get? And he'll kind of like call me out on it, or I'm just like, all right, I'm putting away, you know.
But I do like taking those panoramas. I did it here in the hotel.
But, you know, he has a point. It's like, you know, just go out there and go for the hike. Yeah. And it's...
I think sometimes I take pictures, like, you know, just going to Spain with my mom and my sister and everything. I want to remember those moments, having it with them.
When did you go?
We just went. I just got back like 3-4 days before I came here.
I went
literally
in
last
November.
week. I was in Madrid.
I went in November, and I had a list of things I wanted to do, and one of them was go to a flamenco show. And once I went, I was like, oh, this is the only thing I want to do from now until
wait, are we going to see that is your
that's my next
career. We're going to taking flamenco classes.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing.
They are incredible.
Well, and the awesome correlation watching, of course, I don't know one thing about the technical aspects of flamenco. I just watched it. This is the only thing.
Twist your wrist a lot.
well, it's okay. Perfect. Yes. Because you go, if you're never watched wrestling and you're like, oh, you just like give them a big clothesline and then you scream real loud. It's like, no, you don't
No,
just
you
twist
don't.
your wrist a
With a
lot
lot,
and
right,
bang
right.
your feet around, you know.
Yeah, no,
but
there's a lot to it.
watch them all work as a unit and how it's an improv art, and to like watch the nonverbal cues that they're giving to put this art form together was my level of appreciation
Yeah.
for it. It's
magical.
It was, yeah. Renee and I went, and we both like look over, and we have a tear streaming down our face. We're like, "This is beautiful."
That's great that you can actually appreciate it
Connect
like
with
that.
it, yeah.
When we were in Sevilla, actually, they were just doing it. You know how you can go to 3rd Street Promenade in California, and you find singers out there. Well,
Yeah.
you find flamenco dancers out in the street, just
I
with their
was
little
digging
hat.
in blogs. I'm like, where are those basements where it's like a breakdance off, but
Yes.
a flamenco off? I'm like,
Yeah.
take me there.
Yeah.
I want to be sweaty up till 6 a.m. watching these people.
I know there's a lifestyle in Spain that I could definitely do. You know, and growing up there, it's like it feels home. You know, so it's kind of, I have my torn because I love my U.S. and I love Spain. So I just have to get places.
Well,
in both,
and from
both
the
places.
West Coast, it's hard. You know, if you can pop over from the East Coast pretty quickly,
A lot quicker.
direct.
It was like 13-hour total on the air, just in the air.
Right, not getting
Not
there. and-
not the whole layover and all. It was really, I think I'd been up for 24 hours or something like that.
Gross. Yeah.
But it was worth it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, is there something left that you want to say to your fans that you haven't had the opportunity to say?
I mean, I think in some ways I'm as misunderstood to my fans as I am to a lot of my acquaintances and people that have known me for a long time, and I think that's on me, you know, because I'll only let certain aspects of me in, but like, I just think it's so great that they were able to find the connection that they did, you know, if they did, because I know and things that I've become connected with, how special it is to have that. And I just look at it now as like, cool, we have this thing, as opposed to like, I'm doing this thing for you to connect with. It's like, cool, we have this cool connection.
Yeah.
And thanks, man.
Are you glad that they're getting to know the real you?
Yeah, you know, but it's cool too, because you know you can only process the information as you're ready for it,
Right.
on anything, you
Right.
know. And so it's like, cool, like I was Lita when you needed me to be Lita, and now you're an adult and I'm Amy, and we're having a connection in a different way now, you know.
Yeah. Is there some aspect of this that you really miss?
So saying no sounds trite, and it sounds like it's dismissive of this thing that I will always be connected to, but like appreciating each moment that you're in for what it is makes me generally say no, because I don't know, if like if you're busy missing something else, you're not appreciating the thing that you're doing at the current time.
It's beautifully said. I want to thank you so much for being real, raw, and inspiring. Seriously. It's not easy to be this open. I know that.
Yeah, but I don't know, I guess it was. It just kind of...
But it is very liberating
Mhm.
in a way. I hope that that's what it's been for you.
Well, and I hope too that people potentially see me and understand. Maybe they connect some dots like we did today
Yeah.
for their perceptions that they've had of me over the years.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's there's more to a story that people sometimes don't see. They just see.
Oh, everyone's story.
Right.
There is way more to it. And
I just genuinely hope that you get whatever it is that you're searching for with, you know, the lack of your dad, and you know, that the journey that's taking you on, and just know that, as you probably know, things happen for a reason.
well, I mean, every step along the way makes you who you are, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with who I am. So I
But-
just have to accept it all.
You sharing that today, I bet you there's somebody out there that is trying really hard to have a connection with their dad and is not
It's not
getting
gonna
that.
happen. Yeah.
And is not getting that.
Mhm.
And they're probably destroyed by it. And I'm hoping that your story today is giving them the the wisdom, you know, and the power,
It's really just the
enlightening
peace.
the peace,
Just the peace to accept.
to accept, and that they don't have to have that to end up being fulfilled in life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I adore
Lil.
you. I adore you. All right, guys. Well, where do we find you on your Twitter?
Just Google me, you'll find it. It's around. I don't really keep up with stuff.
With the social media?
No.
You guys are just going to have to keep up with her in other ways. Well, guys, that's another episode for Making Their Way to the Ring. Oh, man, this was so amazing and inspiring. Please tell everybody about it, because I think these are the stories that need to be out there, and not necessarily some of the other ones that are...
Did you hear about that time I main evented in Charlotte?
Yeah. And those are fun too. I know.
It's a
Those are
different
fun too.
thing.
It is a different thing, but I just mean too the half truths. And I want those stories that don't have all the gaps filled in, and you know, the real deal. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Remember that you can find this on youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. You can also find it on iTunes or anywhere where podcasts are located. I am at Lilian Garcia on Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook at Lilian Garcia official fan page. I love you. I adore you guys. Much peace, love, and happiness. All right, peace out.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Phil Svitek, Kevin Undergaro, Lilian Garcia, Mark Donica, associate producer James Frank, AfterBuzz Wrestling News correspondent Christy Olson, and the entire Making Their Way to the Ring staff. We would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow Lilian on Twitter and Instagram at Lilian Garcia. This has been a presentation of the AfterBuzz TV Network. Buzz you later.